being like, release the Epstein files. Epstein's alleged accomplice pictured posing on British throne with Kevin Spacey. I mean, come on. Like, a lot of people will say like, oh, everyone in Hollywood is like elite pedophiles. It's like, I don't know about all that. But there are some who are, you know, engaging in illicit behavior. I can't say too much because I'm like legitimately scared of this person. In any case, here is the vote that was unanimous by the Republicans in the House of Representatives that unanimously voted to block the release of the Epstein files. One must ask the question, why are they doing this? Right? Interesting. I do think that a lot of the Democrats in the media and Democrats in general are just like kind of prodding on the Epstein stuff exclusively because they recognize that this is like a thing that the Republicans are mad about. It causes a real fissure in the base in a very meaningful way, in a lot more meaningful of a way than anything else, right? But I want to know for real reasons. I want to know because this is like a prolific sex trafficking blackmail operation that implicates a lot of societal elites. And I also am certainly enjoying the fissure that's happening in the base of MAGA, but more so, I'm enjoying Teflon Don flubbing on this. Okay, Teflon Don is flubbing on this. I will say this much. Okay, this feels like the only way that you can get Americans to identify an issue from a class dynamic. Ironically, it's not like a Marxian assessment of class because it has nothing to do with like people's relations to the means of production, but it literally is like if you're like a super wealthy elite guy, then you're, you know, on the let's not fuck up the bag. Let's not talk about the Jeffrey Epstein shit. And if you're just like a regular dude, even if you're like a small business owner, even if you're the petit bourgeois, you still are like, no, I want to know. I want to know about this shit. It's literally like the most 99.9% versus like the super, super tiny 1%, 0.1% issue. Like, this is the closest I've ever seen. This is the closest we've ever gotten to like the entire public unifying beyond unifying on like one singular issue. You've been covering the Jeffrey stuff, Epstein stuff for years. You didn't just hop on it. Oh yeah. No, of course, I've spent many years talking about not only Jeffrey Epstein, but like, it's one of those, when people ask me like, oh, what's a conspiracy that you believe? It's the thing that I would always say is like, I don't think this is a conspiracy theory necessarily, but I think Jeffrey Epstein is like directly involved in with American intelligence. So it's something that I've certainly talked about quite a bit for years at this point. It's definitely one of those like unsolved issues. It's basically like the 9/11 of this generation. If 9/11 itself wasn't the 9/11 of this generation, it's certainly like this is a unifying problem, and not getting any answers on it. And especially the haphazard ways in which the administration is trying to actively push this down the line and just like have it go away, it's making things a lot worse. Yes, I saw Rolling Stone actually had a good release on this. Jeffrey Epstein hired private investigators to intimidate the FBI agents investigating him. I mean, come on. Private mercs? Really? Private mercs? Like, being able to operate private mercs in this capacity on U.S. soil against literally the top cops, federal law enforcement, is crazy. Okay? So who knows? Here's a statement from a Tara Palmer. She says, the Epstein story won't go away because it's not just about sex crimes. It's about class warfare. The elites abused poor kids and got away with it. MAGA was promised justice, but last week it was made clear Trump's not an outsider. He's one of the protected. Yeah. MAGA is full of shit. They only care about the Epstein files because they thought it could hurt the left. This is what I used to think. I used to think that, I will admit something. I used to think that the MAGA base was simply just like cynically saying like, oh, this is a pedophile, that's a pedophile, blah, blah, blah. We're anti-pedophilia. But then some in the base also didn't realize that like they were also pro-pedophile because they would be like advocating for child marriages and things like that. But there are certainly a lot of people who are apolitical, a lot of people who are just like not remotely interested in this kind of thing that unironically do care about, like they do have an anti-pedophilia position. And because if that wasn't the case, they would not be fucking railing at Trump. They would not be getting mad at Trump right now. Do you understand? Like, I think that these guys genuinely think that, like, Jeffrey, you're not wrong. Like, the initial reasoning for why they were so invested in the Jeffrey Epstein stuff is because it's like deep state pedophilic elite. Liberals are doing this, blah, blah, blah. They thought it would like take down the liberal network of intelligentsia and the liberal network of deep state elites, right? Like the elites on the liberal side and also the deep state working in unison to like undermine Donald Trump, whatever. But there is also like sex crimes taking place that they definitely cared about, right? So now that Donald Trump is basically saying they are getting exposed as being duped and that's what is making them angry, I think there is that for sure, but they've been fucking exposed as being duped over and over again. So why is it that this issue matters more? Because what hasn't Donald Trump hit him with? The Fell For It Again award is a permanent fixture on everyone's timeline at this point because Donald Trump literally says one thing and then does the exact opposite and then literally goes back on the initial promise that he had made 3 times in a row, making people experience whiplash in the process of trying to fucking figure out which dick they need to ride, okay? They will literally be like, oh, we hate the tariffs, or we love the tariffs. Thank you for the tariffs. I'm a trade protectionist. And then the next day he's like, no more tariffs. And he's like, oh, brilliant. Art of the deal, sir. Art of the deal. We hated the tariffs, actually. And then the next day he's like, tariffs are back on. He's like, brilliant, brilliant. You're such a fucking amazing commander. You are commanding the economy. So like these guys don't give a shit about being duped on a lot of issues. I mean, look at Medicaid, right? Medicaid cuts. Trump said he was not going to touch Medicaid. He said he was not going to touch Social Security. He said he was not going to touch like any of the welfare, right? And yet they did that. They did that, and everyone shut the fuck up about it. Like the base doesn't give a shit about that. They don't care about being duped on Palestine, for example. Trump, Mr. fucking peaceful dove. They didn't give a shit. They did not care about any of that. But this is one thing that they do care about, partially because this is something that is like completely in Trump's control. This is something that they really, really were invested in. So this is definitely causing a fissure. But in any case, it says, I need more hogwatch. These are the same people that will rally around religious leaders when they get caught touching kids. I agree. I think that with the Catholic Church, for example, or with like even numerous Republicans like Roy Moore, right? Like clearly they don't care about pedophilia that much because they voted for Roy Moore. They defended Roy Moore. They said, oh, the Democrats do it too, you know? They tried to find a way to like make that stick. Having said that, I'm telling you, this is an issue that is staying and has staying power because it was such a fucking North Star for so many people because it like kind of packs up. It is the one real element of like QAnon. Okay. It is the one real element of QAnon. The idea that like there is a notable out and about figure that was doing sex crimes for the elite in a blackmail operation. And we have a right to know who was involved in it, right? Let's see if the right forgets about it. But this has been an issue that has been talked about even when others in mainstream media were not talking about it. There's a reason why Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and all these other people like would even on the campaign say like, oh, vote for Trump because he's going to release the Epstein files. So now this is a direct switcheroo, and it's a switcheroo on an issue that they do care about. Some of the people care about it because they think Jeffrey Epstein is Mossad. Jeffrey Epstein is like Israel's agent. And, you know, they want to cope and think that like American politicians are being blackmailed by Israel. And that's the reason why they're pro-Israel, right? Like that's a little bit of a Republican cope because they have American exceptionalism in the brain. It's brain poisoning. And they think, oh, America is exceptional. Our politicians are amazing. Our Republicans would never be pro-Israel unless they were like, you know, being blackmailed by the Mossad, right? That's not the case, obviously. This doesn't mean that Israel doesn't engage in blackmail operations. Of course they do. But having said that, that's not the primary motivator for a lot of American politicians and why they actually show unconditional support to the state of Israel. But that is part of the reason why a lot of Republicans care about it, because they think Jeffrey Epstein, he's Jewish, he was an agent of Mossad, and you know, this is like a Jewish trickery is like what a lot of people's assessment is, right? But the greatest conspiracy is one that has a grain of truth. And with the Epstein situation, there is truth here. Like there is truth. There is truth with Jeffrey Epstein as far as his Israel involvement. There is no reason for Jeffrey Epstein, a fucking random New York financier, to have direct access to not one, not two, not three, but 4 different Israeli prime ministers. There's no reason for former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak to visit Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion in 2016. Like, that's insane, right? It's crazy. Jeffrey Epstein connecting Benjamin Netanyahu with JP Morgan. Like, that's crazy. Prince Andrew. There are so many elite connections with someone like Jeffrey Epstein. He's not just some fucking random New York financier. And it's not like Jeffrey Epstein was famous at being a New York financier. Like, how did he make his money is a real question that a lot of people have, and they don't know. They don't know how he made his money. It's not like he was cracked at fucking, the stock market or something. So because of all these questions, it's like many people ask, understandably, like many people have, unanswered questions on the matter, or rather not even necessarily unanswered questions on the matter, but they have, they want evidence to fill the puzzle pieces, because the speculations that a lot of people have cultivated around Jeffrey Epstein, crypto maybe. What do you mean crypto? Crypto didn't exist when Jeffrey Epstein became a multi-billionaire. Anyway, let's take a look.
The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
What? On
the DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No. She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
That's wait, I got to run this again. What the hell? Wait.
Briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the...
Why are you so nervous, bro? Why are you so nervous? What is this? Also, it's like, so Hillary Clinton put herself on the list? Like, what is this? I don't understand why he's also getting ahead of it. Because this is when you're trying to get ahead of something that is going to come out. Does that make sense? It almost feels like he's trying to set expectations that, like, you might hear someone's name on there. You might see someone's name on there, a beloved figure, but believe it's because Obama, he put me on it, right? A lot of phony stuff on there. Phony.
Biden, we went... The Biden, we went through years of that.
So why didn't they release it? If the Democrats, if the demon rats, okay, if the dummycrats were the ones who actually created this list, why didn't they release it and weaponize it against you? Okay. Also, I thought there was no list. Why is there a list? Now, the reality is, like, is there actually a full-fledged list? There's speculation that there is no, like, real Epstein client list, right? Like, it doesn't exist. It's more so a term that defines, like, everyone that is a Jeffrey Epstein affiliate that might have been blackmailed, right? Or, like, to which degree they were connected to Jeffrey Epstein. That's what it is. I don't really care about parsing through that. I don't care about, like, being a semantics Andy on this shit, because, like, I think it's silly. Some people try to do that specifically. Some people try to do that to make it seem as though there is no list. Like, oh, you mean the black book or whatever. It's like, no, that's not it. That's like Bobby Kotick is on the black book, and not every single person on the black book is a direct client, or at least some people believe that there is not. They're not all clients. Anyway, the demon rats are so diabolical that they wrote it and left it for him to release. Yeah, they wrote it. They put themselves in it for some reason. They were like, hey, we're a bunch of elite pedophiles. We are a bunch of elite pedophiles ourselves as Democrats. And that's why, yeah, Hillary putting Bill's name in the Epstein files. They expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. That's funny. Except Hillary Clinton herself, like, also frequented the Epstein Manors, specifically Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. Like, I think a lot of people are only now paying attention to this shit, so they're like kind of oblivious to like all of the minutia, all of the many great details that connect the Clintons, who are insanely connected to the Epsteins, okay? Both Ghislaine and also Jeffrey himself. I'm gonna tell you something. I'll give you one example. When Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, who was OSS, who was also Mossad, he worked with Mossad, he worked with like Western intelligence and with Mossad as well. When he died and he was buried in Jerusalem, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, is the OG spook, right? And he was buried in Jerusalem, and numerous Israeli officials attended his wedding, okay? One of the people that I believe attended Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell's funeral, he got a state funeral. Did I say wedding? I apologize. He got a state funeral, okay? One of the people that attended his state funeral was Anthony Blinken's stepfather. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's somewhat of a coincidence, right? But it is crazy. It is crazy. Anthony Blinken's father-in-law, or not stepfather, sorry, father-in-law Samuel Pizar was a close confidant of Israeli super spy Robert Maxwell, father of Ghislaine. It is believed that Blinken's father-in-law Pizar was one of the last people Maxwell spoke to before his suspicious death in 1991. Maurice Blinken, the grandfather of U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, was a fervent Zionist lobbyist. The New York Times credits his work with helping persuade the United States government to support the establishment of the State of Israel. Anthony Blinken even boasted about it in a talk for AIPAC. My grandfather, Maurice Blinken, initiated a report before independence that argued that a Jewish state was indeed possible. That report helped convince many skeptics, including within the United States government. Anthony Blinken's father-in-law, Samuel Pizar, was also a close confidant of Israeli super spy Robert Maxwell, father of Ghislaine. It is believed that Blinken's father-in-law, Pizar, was one of the last people Maxwell spoke to before his suspicious death. Okay? To be fair to Robert Maxwell, he was also one of the most prolific Nazi hunters in World War II. What is this? He was also one of the most prolific Nazi hunters in World War II. Naturally, also a clear-cut war criminal, but you know. After Ghislaine Maxwell's dad died, presumably after falling naked off his yacht, Lady Ghislaine, the funeral included at least 6 Israeli spy chiefs plus Tony Blinken's stepfather. It wasn't Tony Blinken's stepfather, sorry. It was Tony Blinken's father-in-law. Samuel Pizar is Tony Blinken's father-in-law, I believe. Maxwell's afforded a lavish funeral in Israel, attended by Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, Israeli President Chaim Herzog, at least 6 serving and former heads of Israeli intelligence, and many dignitaries and politicians, both government and opposition, and was buried on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. Herzog delivered the eulogy, and the Kaddish was recited by his fellow Holocaust survivor, friend, and longtime attorney, Samuel Pizar. So it's just crazy to see all this stuff. Like, my argument on this, however, my argument against this is when people basically look at the situation and go, oh no, this is all a complex blackmail operation, and that's the reason why Americans are actually totally removed from this. If it wasn't for those pesky Jewish spies and pesky Jewish mind control, that none of these guys would be doing the things that they're doing. And that's fucking bullshit. That's just cope. That's usually just like Christian nationalist cope. No, dog. Your fucking favorite politicians are doing this without being blackmailed. Okay? Just understand that. That's what's so goddamn annoying about it, because people will just like try to remove American responsibility from Israel when Israel as a state would not be able to exist without American help every step of the fucking way. Just like Jeffrey Epstein was not exclusively a Mossad operation, and he certainly had CIA involvement as well. That's it. Here, this just happened. Pam Bondi was asked about Epstein. Let's see what she had to say. Question comes in, says, how do you respond to the MAGA base that has expressed a lot of frustration about Epstein? Here's what Pam Bondi's response was.
Release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you?
Our memo today, our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today. Thank you.
Respond to the
So was it Pam Bondi? Pam Pam Bongino.
MAGA base that has expressed a lot of frustration about it.
We're going to fight to keep America safe again, and we're fighting together as a team. That's what's so important right now. You know, we've got a war on drugs. We've got a war on human trafficking. We've got cartels in this country, and we are going to do. We've got foreign adversaries around this world as well, and we're all. Are these even two separate things, the CIA and the Mossad? Sometimes, for sure. A lot of cross-pollination, though. But, you know, sometimes they can operate. I mean, in many instances, they operate independently. But to say that, like, someone can be a member of one and not the other is silly. There are plenty of people, whether it be Robert Maxwell, as we talked about just now, or Jeffrey Epstein, or a Benjamin Netanyahu, that has worked in intelligence both for Israel and also American intelligence at the same time. Okay? And the only reason why this exists, the only reason why this can exist, and this is the major cope that a lot of people refuse to reckon with, is that the interests are aligned. If Israel truly was not an American vassal or a vehicle for American empire in the region, then the dual loyalty trope would work, right? Then you could say dual loyalty. These guys only care about Israel. These guys care about Israel more than they care about America or whatever the fuck. But from their analysis and in the eyes of many people, both in intelligence, even though there are some naysayers, and the State Department, caring about Israel is caring about America. It's just caring about more America. Caring about Israel is like caring about the state of Texas, okay? Or the state of Florida. It's just another state. Going to work together as a team to fight to keep America safe again. And I can tell you that's what we're all committed to. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for, please. Most of the CIA doesn't trust Mossad. I mean, there are, just like in the State Department, there are people who think that the relationship with America and Israel can be a little bit hostile. So there are people who very clearly look to Israel as a intelligence threat, okay? Because Israel does at times and has at times actively overstepped. All right, let's finish this little clip up.
The Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through, we've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to?
Russia. Here's another one that bites the dust, by the way. Another Mr. Conspiracy, famous for the 2000 Mules documentary that claimed that the election was stolen from our big, beautiful president, Donald Trump, because Donald Trump was going after elite pedophiles. Turns out Donald Trump might be one of those elite pedophiles. But Dinesh D'Souza here also saying, come on, guys, don't care about this stuff.
I'm going to talk about the Epstein files. And I'm going to make the case that even though there are unanswered questions about Epstein, it is in fact time to move on. I'm going to talk.
Yeah, it's time to move on, guys. Come on. Guys, it's so silly. Move on, please. Why do you care about this? Why does anybody care about this? I don't understand. Come on, just move on, dude. Move on. It's chill. It's fucking lame to care about this stuff. This stuff that I definitely cared about a lot and talked about a lot. Okay? Move on. It's okay. Of course, Donald Trump, as we know, directly called these people to tell them to shut the fuck up, ironically enough. But it's not going to happen. They're talking about a pedo ring of Elise like it's my ex-girlfriend, Lamau. I know. Come on, it's good for your mental health. It's good for your mental health to move on from the elite pedophile ring that we talked about extensively.